All right, folks, good morning and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Boxtrot Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. It is January 15th, halfway through the first month of the 22nd year. All right, this is Crazy Guys. Again, you can always check us out online at tjmshow.com. The blog site directly is joemangishow.com. All of our social media platforms are at Joe Mangi Show, so check it out. You can listen, of course, on AM 830 WCRN, AM 730 if you're in the western part of the state, WACE, or just listen to the TuneIn app. Punch in WCRN if you don't already have it saved, and you can take us anywhere that way. Join the conversation at any time in the next 2 hours at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Text line is up and running. 617-297-8388. Text if like you would anybody else, or email textjoe@radio@gmail.com. It appears on the same screen. Also, folks, you're welcome actually, to watch the streaming of the show. You can do that on the show's Facebook page, Joe Mangi Show. You can do it on our Twitter account, Joe Mangi Show. You can do it on our YouTube channel, The Joe Mangiacotti Show, or my LinkedIn page, obviously under my same name, and even Twitch TV if you're into gaming and that kind of thing. You're welcome to do it there as well. And don't forget, all of our shows are posted up onto platforms like Spotify and Google Play and TuneIn and all that. So you can find us basically anywhere if you'd like to listen to it. If you can't, well, if you don't even want to get up at 6 o'clock, you can listen to it a little later, anytime on today. Good morning, Russ. I'm fine. I'm fantastic. It's good. We got a first big snowstorm on the way this past week, and I'm good with that. I think if we slide into spring now, it's 5 degrees, I think, coming in this morning. So for me, that was even chilly. I like it nice and cool. I like New England for that reason, but it was even chilly for me. All right, folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation as we broadcast from our palatial but not overly ostentatious studios. We will be joined in the second hour at 7 o'clock by Dr. Larry Fedoruk, who will take a look at some of the national and international issues that are on the table here. And I got a couple predictions when it comes to Putin and, of course, mainland China and Taiwan, and we'll talk about that a little later. This has been a real tough week for the sitting president. I got to tell you, it was a 1-2 punch and another left foot. It was a tough week, and we'd like to talk about that. But I do want to point out, because I don't want this to fall in the cracks here, because look, there was the stay and so forth on the masks. We'll get into that. However, one of the biggest problems that we've had since this presidency came in is the porous border, the wide open border that's not being secured. Laws aren't being followed. They're redistributing these illegal aliens who are entering the country throughout the country in the middle of the night, right, under the cloak of darkness. They're not just doing it in a very open and transparent way. And you've got states like Texas and California, right, and Illinois. You got states where they're just sending these illegals in the middle of the night. They're checking them into hotels with no supervision, including those people that they know are positive. And this is what I'm saying is you're living, this administration somehow can live in this prism of these two worlds, where in the same breath, the President of the United States is telling us that this is a horrible disease that we're facing, this variant and Omicron, Delta, COVID-19, and it's your patriotic duty to wear a mask. And if you don't get vaccinated, and if you don't wear a mask, you're unpatriotic, and you're a bad person, and you probably get, what's coming to you, and you should die. And we've got conversations in states who are saying, we are going to prioritize, if you aren't vaccinated, we're not going to treat you. There's talk about charging you more money on your health care if you're not vaccinated. Did you ever think that you would see this, that you'd live to see this kind of stupidity in the United States of America? Do we blame people for falling victim to other viruses or illnesses? Do we shame them? This is absolutely bizarro world, folks. And this is flying people straight. So we're not doing it. Same breath. This is a horrible variant. This is disgusting. We got to get protected, and yet we're not going to do anything at the southern border. Come on over. We're not even testing you. We don't have the ability to test you. We're ordering these tests. Of course, by the time these home tests get to you, folks, Omicron will be gone. It will peter out to nothing. Another great success there, Joe Biden. You're really on top of this. Seriously. You cannot sit there and lecture the United States of American citizens and tell us how deplorable we are, horrible we are, unpatriotic we are, and that we should die if we don't get vaccinated at the same time. Wide open border. Halt the building of the wall. Order them to just simply escort them to a Border Patrol tent where they get an issue to report. Right? And there's a big difference. I've reviewed this for you before. An issue to appear is an actual summons. It's an actual, you must appear in front of an immigration judge at this time on this day. But an issue to report simply says, would you please, wherever you go, whatever city you end up in, we're not controlling that, but go see that lady over there and she'll get you a plane ticket or bus ticket to wherever you want to go. Report to your immigration office when you get a chance, sometime in the next 60 days. And of course, 47% of those people haven't done that. So we're having unchecked numbers of COVID positive people coming in the south border, and that somehow is not supposed to play into the formula, the calculation, the thought process, or anything of that nature when it comes to COVID-19. But if you're not vaccinated, you're a horrible person. Unless you're an illegal alien, then you're wonderful. And you can go wherever you want. So Republicans in the state of Pennsylvania, and one of the ways they're addressing this, and Ron DeSantis is absolutely doing things as well that you've heard about. But I wanted to make sure that you knew the Republicans in Pennsylvania state, they plan to draft a bill that would relocate these illegal migrants, aliens, entering the state on the Biden administration-sponsored flights back to the president's home state of Delaware. So State Senator Mario Scavio, a Republican from Mount Ponoco, issued a memo to colleagues asking them to support this forthcoming bill. In the very near future, I intend to introduce legislation to address the influx of illegal immigrants being relocated to Pennsylvania, and it will be fashioned after a similar intention voiced by Governor Ron DeSantis. And the simple thought process here is, folks, is that the Biden administration is going to allow the southern border to be porous as all heck, then why shouldn't those people be going to his hometown? Why don't they put him in that little beach community where his second or third house is that we just spent nearly $500,000 to put a fence around? The legislation would implement transportation programs for relocation of migrants from the Commonwealth to the neighboring state of Delaware. He says, how many illegal migrants, or immigrants in this case, I should say, has the president relocated to his home state of Delaware? If it's good enough for Pennsylvania, then why not direct the relocation to Delaware? Because that's always the case. We got to go green. We got to have solar and windmills. Let's put windmills. Oh, outside of Boston, in the harbor. This is great. Nantucket Sound. Tons of wind. This would power. Oh, no. John Kerry doesn't want to look at windmills off his mansion. Neither does Barack Obama. Not in mine. Not in the pretty people's yard. No. This bill would also prohibit state contracts from being issued to any federal contractors working to assist the Biden administration relocation efforts. Ron DeSantis did the same thing with Florida vendors. We have to remember, folks, this is the United States of America. The states united came together and created the federal government. That's the way it is. It didn't come down all from high here, from the federal government telling us that you're going to be a state. In this new voter bill that they want is actually transferring the power of controlling voting in your state to the federal government. That should scare the bejesus out of you folks. Absolutely should be scaring you. So good on this politician from Pennsylvania, good on Governor Ron DeSantis, and any other governor who's going to fight back, because first of all, it shouldn't be happening. But it is happening, and you've got the NGOs, and this is, God, I don't know how long ago, before this was even an issue, I broke this down for you, telling you that all of this stimulus money way back that was being created by the Democrats, even under the Trump administration, was to fluff up these NGOs because they were anticipating a porous border, opening those borders up, and they wanted these, whether it was Catholic Charities or whatever other NGO out there, to be ready to receive all of these illegals in mostly red states, so they can at least turn them purple, if not blue. 508-871-7000 and join the conversation. The Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Boxtrot Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. If you're listening to us and you're streaming, you're outside of Massachusetts, we'd love to hear calls from far, far away. But for right now, let's go to the phones in. Mark in Worcester has been waiting patiently. Good morning, Mark. Thanks for joining us. You're looking marvelous. Yeah. Yeah. And those are so easy to get, Mark, right? You can just stop at any convenience store.
Go to mining and manufacturing. Many of the KN95s and 95s that you see around are Chinese knockoffs. Now, the problem with the Chinese knockoffs is that what they don't tell you is that when they're subjected to laboratory testing, they don't function within their design parameters. In other words, they don't. That's a fancy way of saying the bleeping things don't work. The 3M KN95s and N95s do function properly, but they don't tell you that. Okay, so if you moving forward, if you work at UMass Amherst or you're a student there and they require you to have an N95 or a KN95, make sure it's a 3M KN95 or 95, or that probably doesn't function. So good luck trying to find one. Good luck.
You know, don't you think it's time, folks, that we just say, knock it off? We know the masks don't work, right? These are airborne things. These cloth masks that you had us wearing, people were using handkerchiefs, and they were, I mean, remember back when this started, there was people cutting bleach bottles, washing them out and taping them to their face. There was just the stupidest stuff that was happening. And it's really, at this point, are masks worth it? Are they're causing, we know, and finally the mainstream media and doctors are being allowed to say what doctors have been saying all along, but they were then kicked off of social media or big tech censored them, that they really don't work. And of course, Fauci's lied about
Well, the
masks a
3M mask,
good four times. And the thing about it is they just don't work, folks. Okay. Give it up. The damage that's being done. You've got 6-7-year-olds breathing and snotting and sneezing into these masks all day. They expect people to wear masks while they're cycling or jogging. It's common sense has left the freaking building, people. Oh, he's gone. Oh, is Mark gone? Okay. All right. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. It's again 508-871-7000. So anyway, we've got this politician down here, and he's saying, hey, Pennsylvania, we're going to follow in line with this. Meanwhile, folks, and we see this stupidity of DAs across the country in different communities, blue states, blue states, blue cities, Soros-backed DAs. Got to hand it to him. This guy, he said, I'm going to stop buying governors and senators and presidents. I can destroy this country by backing all of these left-wing, out of control, out of just touch, clueless DAs who aren't going to, well, they're not going to do their job. Because let's make it clear, when you're elected, you want to run for that job. That job is to enforce the laws that are there, folks. That's your job. It's not to change the law. We have a branch of government whose job it is to change the laws, and that is the legislative branch. Goes to the executive branch, whether it's federal or state, and they sign it into law or veto it or desk veto it. It doesn't matter. The point is, that's who does it. It's not in your purview as a district attorney to change the laws or decide which laws you'll enforce. As a matter of fact, traditionally, DAs were elected on those that promised to enforce the laws on the book swiftly and with the maximum the law is allowed to keep law and order in your community. And now we have these jamokes who are getting elected, backed by Soros's various funds, and then they change it. We got the New York DA who announces, you're not going to be charged. You can knock all this down. We even got criminals, an arsonist who set a house on fire where he lived, but his girlfriend and family in the house. He's out on the street, and he's taken to social media to say, this is crazy. Good for me, but I shouldn't be out. And you're telling all the criminals there are no consequences. So now they're saying, hey, anybody can do this now. Do you understand how dangerous this is? These people have got to be taken out of office. They're derelict in their duties. This New York DA is absolutely off his rocker. He's insane. And then he says, I don't understand the pushback. I don't understand why people don't see the world the way I see it. Well, first thing here, you jamoke, is you have to enforce the laws that exist. You don't get to decide, I am going to change what we charge people with, regardless of what it is in the law written down. And I'm just not going to do my job. You got to get rid of them. You got to get rid of them. It is now dangerous to walk the streets in major cities like New York, in Illinois, in LA. And now we have the Baltimore prosecutor, Marilyn Mosby, who has two incredible fronts going on here. Because not only is she another one of these Soros-backed DAs, where she's not going to prosecute and let people get away with, well, just about murder. But she herself, folks, have just been indicted. That's right. Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby has been indicted by federal grand jury on charges of perjury related to COVID-19 financial hardship withdrawal in a false statement on a loan application. So while she is derelict in her duty as a prosecutor for the state, she's not prosecuting criminals. She herself is a criminal and should be taken out of that job immediately. She should resign. She's 41 years old. She's been indicted on a charge of perjury and making false mortgage applications. Now get this. She used this ill-gotten money, your tax dollars, to buy 2 Florida homes. Mosby allegedly falsified and claimed she was facing COVID-related financial troubles. And she had to use her city retirement fund to help her buy the properties. She also allegedly lied on 2 mortgage loan applications by hiding that she had several unpaid federal taxes from over the years. So there's another layer to this, that she's a tax evader. So she has unpaid federal taxes. And she was also accused of claiming one of her homes in Kissimmee was a second residence in order to get a lower interest rate. So she's lying left and right all over the place. So now you have a prosecutor who's a criminal and apparently lies with ease. And she's doing a solid for her fellow criminals by saying, hey, I'm not going to prosecute these. It's going to get all knocked down. No bail. What is going on, folks? What's going on? Do you miss the previous administration yet, where there was a little more law and order? And gas was under $2 a gallon, and nations across the globe respected, if not at least feared us appropriately. So she lied about this stuff on her application. She conned us, the taxpayers, out of COVID-19 relief money. The indictment alleges that in July of 2020 and September of 2020, as well as just as recently as last year on the 14th of January, in February, made false statements and applications for $490,500 mortgage to purchase that Kissimmee home, and another $428,000 for a mortgage for a condominium in Longboat Key, Florida. The indictments allege that by falsely executing a second home rider, Mosby could obtain a lower interest rate. Right, you all understand that, and when it comes to mortgages, it's either owner-occupied, non-owner-occupied mortgages, there's a difference. If you're non-owner-occupied, it's an investment property. Your interest rate's a little higher. The risk is a little greater. You don't live there. You don't know what's going on there. The condition sometimes isn't kept as well. That's all a mortgage type thing. But she lied. That's perjury. It's against the law. It's a federal offense to do that. So she's done this, and she's supposed to be the person responsible for prosecuting criminals. Unbelievable, folks. Crazy. Crazy that this is happening. Reminding you that coming up at the top of the hour, 7 o'clock, Dr. Larry Fedorwar will join us for a while to talk about national, international incidents, take his take on how he reads it and how he sees it. What's going on there. We've got to talk about Joe Biden. He has a very tough week. And we'll go through the slams. It was like, left hook, right hook, another left hook. The guys had a bad week. Harris team looks to have a course change to reset their political prospects. She's having a hard time. Even out of the New York Times coming, heir apparent or afterthought, the frustrations of Kamala Harris. All right, so there's a lot of problems going on between these two, and who's going to be in the ticket. I think things will look very different after midterms here. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation from the Boxtrot Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side again. 508-871-7000. Our text line is 617-297-8388. We'll see you on the other side. Good morning and welcome to Case Files from the LPDAM, where we take a look at the lessons from actual cases, the law behind the findings, and where we share the experiences of the experts of the Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts. Joining us this week is Sean Burke, current president of LPDAM, resident manager of Courtside Legal Investigation, and author of several industry books. Good morning, Sean Burke.
Good morning, Joe.
Well, Sean, there was something I wanted to talk to you about, and I was wondering why the Secretary of State here in the Commonwealth is the licensing agency for every license other than the private investigative licensure. Why would that be?
This is a good question, Joe. The Massachusetts legislature decided by law that the state police would be the licensing authority for the private investigative industry. Private investigators are held to a much higher standard than other licensing groups. For example, the state police perform a yearly background investigation on every licensee. If you got arrested, have complaints, or are found to have poor business practices, your license will not be renewed. Unlike any other license in the Commonwealth, private investigators are held to extremely high standards. And for this reason, we have credibility in the law enforcement community as well as the courts. We welcome the accountability, Joe.
I would say so, Sean. Now, what is LPDAM's role, if any, at all, with the state police licensing agency?
Joe, LPDM has worked hard to develop a solid relationship with the state police certification unit. We respect their role in the process. It has been my experience that they respect LPDM too. LPDM, the state police certification unit, and most licensed private investigators all want the same thing: our industry to have a consistent level of credibility to the consumer. Joe, this is why the license exists in the first place. With LPDM being the voice of the Massachusetts licensee, we play a major role in advocating for our fellow Massachusetts licensed private investigators, which not only includes our vetted members, it includes all Mass licensees, many who have not yet qualified to be an LPDM member. LPDM cares about them all and has done work to benefit all of their licenses.
LPDAM has played a significant role in protecting the licensure in Massachusetts.
Yes, we have, Joe. We have faced many challenges where national companies have tried and continue to try to get into our marketplace. Many of these national companies want to de-license the investigative business. We have surveyed their work product and can confidently say that if you get 35% of factual data from these national companies, you are doing well. LPDM members could not and would not participate in providing such poor work product. Our findings are solid and stand up in court. We care about our customers, and it shows in our referrals and repeat business. Remember, you're in good hands with LPDM.
They certainly are. Thanks for stopping by, Sean.
Thank you, Joe.
And thank you for joining us for Case Files from the LPDAM. Join us here each Sunday morning at 7:30 on WCRN 8:30 a.m. and online anytime at lpdamcasefiles.com. Visit us at lpdam.org, and you can find LPDAM on Facebook and Twitter at PI Mass and anytime at 800-955-6274. For Sean Burke, I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
This is Sean Burke, president of the Licensed Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts, asking you to visit us at lpdam.org when you think you need a private investigator. Don't let your emotions negatively affect your future. Get your answers through a Massachusetts licensed private investigator. Get the facts without risking your credibility by unknowingly committing a criminal offense. You need a license to perform investigations in Massachusetts. What are some types of work that requires a license? Any type of surveillance, interviewing someone for a third party, background and asset checks are just a few examples. For more on this, visit us at lpdm.org and tune into AM 830 WCRN Sunday mornings at 7:30 p.m. or anytime at lpdmcasefiles.com.
We know why you're awake. Your child is about to get their driver's license. Levante's Auto School offers 1-week driving programs to help make sure your child stays safe and focused behind the wheel.
877 Drive Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Learn to drive safely and efficiently. Visit one of our 5 locations throughout Massachusetts. Click Levante'sAutoschool.com.
Levante's Auto School shows you how to learn the rules and keep your cool. 4-8-10-10-9-8. Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the first hour of the Saturday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Boxtrop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. And, of course, we do have our text line up and running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com, and appears on the same screen in real time. And we'll try to work it in. As far as that request for playing that, maybe we can do that tomorrow. Your texter, you know what I'm talking about. We got a request to play a speech. It's not at my fingertips, but maybe we can set it up for tomorrow morning. Coming in at 7 o'clock, Dr. Larry Fedowa joins us. He does that usually this time a month, second. This is technically the third because of the first and all, but he'll join us and we'll talk a little bit about, I think, national, because I'm telling you that we're going to see action movement from Putin, I think, before the end of February, and definitely mainland China a move on to Taiwan immediately after the Olympics, provided nothing blows up beforehand. Again, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go to the phones. Ken in Bolton. Good morning, Ken. Thanks for holding on, man. You look marvelous.
Same to you, Joe, and good morning again, Patriots.
Here
Being
we
a
go.
Patriot game day, and what a week for Patriots. Wow.
Yeah.
Our opponents are falling on their face, and our allies.
Wait a minute. What's going on with the Are they playing in Foxborough?
No. It's in Buffalo.
Buffalo?
8:15 tonight.
All right. Well, Russ, you run the board for them, don't you?
Yes, I do. And Ken is correct. It's 8:15 kickoff, and they are playing in Buffalo.
Okay.
4-degree weather.
Yeah, that's fine
That's
for them,
right.
right? Right. I mean, the Patriots, right? The Buffalo Bills too. I mean, I get there are a few teams that can play in cold weather. You know, it's when you get the southern, right? The southern teams, and you throw them into 4-degree weather and some snow. That's fun to watch.
Yeah.
So, all right, yeah. What time? You said 8:15?
8:15. The pregame is 5 o'clock this afternoon for those who are interested, and 8:15 is the kickoff.
Okay. If that's your thing, folks, there you go. You got your Saturday night all mapped out.
Mine's
for
all
yourself.
set. Believe me.
Yours is all set. Yeah, but you're one of the few people that are, on the clock. You actually get paid for watching the game.
I'm not complaining, Joe. Believe
it's great.
me.
It's great. What's happening, Ken?
Well, you mentioned what I texted this morning, and let me tell you, I take it you haven't heard the speech.
Oh, is that you who texted this? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't catch it was you. So you text, let me just pull it up. Play Rubio's 1-2 Senate floor speech. No, I didn't.
January 12th.
All right. So January 12th, Senator Marco Rubio.
Yep.
On the Senate floor.
Correct.
I don't know. Russ, see if you can Google find that. Maybe we can get some audio. What's the gist of his his speech?
Yeah. So let me cut to the chase, because I understand your reaction that you probably don't have time today. That's fine. But it is so good that you're going to want to play at least parts of it every single month from now to the election. It's that good. He knocks it. He hits 4 grand slams.
All right.
Exaggerating. It's that good.
All right. Well, share. I mean, does he talk about the border? Does he talk about what's he hitting?
Well, actually, the last thing we want him to talk about is the border. That's the one issue that he almost slit his throat on politically with what he did about 8 years ago. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
But, he was a champion of amnesty, and he was the Gang of 8.
Yeah.
That was trying to find it.
The problem with the border, folks, is that there is not, at this point, there is not a solution that doesn't have amnesty in it, but it has to be a piece of it, because you cannot seal the border and you're never going to get it by anybody, get it by the House, get it by the Senate. There has to be some amnesty in there. But the problem is, right, and the Republicans fall for this all the time, is they agree to amnesty and the Democrats promise that they're going to build the wall or do something else. Of course, that never happens. So it's Lucy in the football every time, right? And the Republicans are Charlie Brown. They fall for it all the time. But if we're going to have a comprehensive, first of all, if we had just done nothing, Donald Trump had the most secure border in decades, and it was still on its way to becoming the most secure border ever, because the wall would have been completed. And this Jamoke in office stops it on day one, costs $5 million a day to taxpayers not to build the wall, folks, to let that material rot out there. And illegal immigrants are walking around the gate. It's like watching one of those old Western movies where they have the big gate and the cowboys leaning on it, and there's nothing on either side, right? They walk around it and the gate. It's the same principle. You can't put up millions and trillions of dollars of fence and then leave big gaps wide open. It's asinine. So, yes, there has to be, if we're going to reform immigration, folks, we have to do it all at once. We have to make a clear, easier path to citizenship, but that comes with background checks, right? And it comes with more than just you a convicted murderer. No, who's coming? What are the reasons for they're coming? Right? And where are they going to stay? They shouldn't be able to come to the country and be an immediately burden, right? We should make it easy for them to apply for jobs. If they have jobs, we put them on a path to citizenship, but we have to grant some amnesty with this, but only if the border gets secure. We already taken over 1 million people legally, Ken, a year. No other country does that. Nobody even comes close to that. And now we have over 2 million illegally entering, when then we have the getaways. But what is he getting back to Rubio's speech? Give me 2 or 3 of the big topics that he's hitting.
It's primarily about our trick, that being teleprompter reader in chief speech in Georgia on Tuesday. He just cuts it to shreds. It's not only effective, it's hilarious.
And don't you think that, I'm sorry, I know the media is downplaying it, the mainstream media is downplaying the fact that Stacey Abrams snubbed him on that, but that's huge.
Yes.
That's huge,
Absolutely.
folks. Okay? Because first of all, isn't this the woman who still considers herself the winner of the governor's race?
Yeah.
But if you're on
She's
the left,
on that issue.
If you're on the left, it's okay to say that it was there was funny business in the election. I really won that election, right? You got Congressman Clay. He didn't show up to 2 presidential inaugurations because he said there was funny business in it, but that's okay. There's something to that. But if you are on the right, if you're a Republican and you say there was something fishy about that, you are a nut. You're anti-American. You're a terrorist. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're a horrible person if you question that. But people like Stacey Abrams, a hero, because she still thinks she's the governor of Georgia.
And how about that stunt that he played early on in this issue when he brought it up in May because Georgia had just passed the reforms, and they're complaining that you can't even give them water. They're going to starve. It's like,
that really kind of pissed me off, folks. In the way the left came, and Joe Biden, who as sitting president of the United States of America should have a better briefing than just reading headlines from social media. What that reform said is no political operatives can go into the voting line without even giving water. So in other words, you can go down there and pass out as much water as you want, but you can't have the political T-shirt on. You can't have the hat. You can't be holding the banner. In other words, you can't put undue political what they call, campaigning or balloting pressure by wearing any of the candidates' stuff. So all they said is not that you can't give out water, you cannot give out water when you're clearly an operative for a candidate. So if you want to you're welcome to do that, but you just have to have normal clothes on, and you can't be carrying a banner or wearing a pin, which is in complete keeping in with the whole thing about not being able to have those things within so many 100 feet of the polling place, right? You go down to polling place and you got people holding signs. Where are they? They're on the street and the sidewalk at the entrance to the school parking lot. They're 300 feet away from the entrance to the polling place. Everybody gets that. We've always done that. All this law said is you can't be the person with all the political garb on passing the water out, because now you're within the 300 feet of the polling place. How is that horrible and racial? Explain that to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
But Joe, all he's doing, this is the same stunt he played as a vice president. Remember, right before the 2012 election, he claimed that Romney's going to put you all in shame.
Look, Joe Biden has gotten away with so many horrible racist remarks. I remember that. I'm going to put you all back in chains, right? Romney, talk about the right. And I know Romney. Oh my God. The stuff that came out of his mouth. And if you don't vote for Biden, you ain't black, right? He falls into that vernacular. What he said about the 7-Eleven store. You can't go in the 7-Eleven without the Indian accent, right? What about the busing back in the 70s, his regulation? He didn't want his kids going to school in a jungle. That's okay to say, though. Everybody forgets this. The stuff that he has said, it's unbelievable. And he gets a total pass for this stuff.
And then here's the kicker, Joe. You know who he claims is the worst, the 3 worst people ever? George Wallace, Bull Connor, Jefferson Davis. My opponents are like those 3. What do all those 3 have in common?
Well,
Democrats.
They're all Democrats. Exactly. And here he is telling, this uniter in chief, because this guy is doing nothing but tearing us apart. If you don't agree with him, and if you don't follow his unconstitutional orders, and if you don't buy into the bogus science and the rhetoric that he's giving out, then you're a horrible person. You're a Nazi. You're a racist. You're a bigot. This is what he's saying. This is horrible. Horrible.
And here's the thing, Joe. The tone that he uses, he sounds like a mafia thug.
Oh,
not a president.
God. I've said this in the past to folks, is if you have an opportunity to, because in today's technology, you can watch newscasts and talk shows from Australia, New Zealand, from all over the planet if you want to. And if you have friends, and I have friends in Cape Town, in France, Germany, Japan, right? You talk to these people. Biden, he's embarrassing to the country. I don't think that for a moment that this whole thing that we heard during the campaign, that he was going to bring back, dignity and normalcy and an adult in the room. He's viewed as just an incompetent, degenerating person out of touch who just is not in control. And that's the scariest thing. The rest of the world outside of the United States, well, inside the United States too, I think, but outside of the United States, he's viewed as someone who's just not in control of the government in the country, but he's not in control of his own faculties. And that's why you've got Putin ready to make a move, and why China has no qualms about being the unification of mainland and Taiwan again. They
after the Olympics, of course.
Say again?
After the Olympics.
Yes, that will happen right after the Olympics, but I think Putin will make a move before the end of February, if it even goes that long.
We do remember what Putin did after his Olympics.
Yeah, He invaded.
He's
I mean,
actually right.
basically, look, Joe Biden hasn't been right on foreign policy as it was said in the book, right? That book for 40 years. Why all of a sudden? This is a guy who has been run for president a couple times before, but got knocked out of the whole race because of his plagiarism. Right? He steals speeches. He steals ideas. He misremembers history in a big way. Right? When he starts talking about stuff, you're like, what is he talking about? And that didn't happen. Right? The other day he slipped in Georgia. What was that little slip in the first time I got arrested? Right? Because he already
yeah.
went through that where he said he got arrested and all this, and it was a lie.
But,
I don't know.
yeah, he'd never marched in the civil rights movement.
I
Never.
don't know. Maybe the
potential.
24 ticket should be Corn Pop and Buttigieg or something. You know, where is Corn Pop these days? Maybe he can do a better job.
Now, have you caught the polls in the important demographics?
Yeah, the polls, folks. The polls are really. I mean, they're tankering, right? First of all, Kamala has the lowest polls in the history of vice president poll keeping. By the way, it's horrible, right?
But actually, she's now matching him. He's just come down to her.
Oh, has he? Well, look,
Yeah.
I mean, they're just they're in the tank. They're in the tank.
There's 3 key demographics: independents, Hispanics, and the young voters. All 3 categories, his approval ratings are under 30%, in the 20s. This has never been seen before.
Yeah,
never.
And when the Democratic Party starts to lose the Hispanics and the black vote, which they are doing in droves, and that's one of the things that really helped Donald Trump way back in 2016, by the way, is the Democrats were shocked at the support that he received from the Latino community and the Hispanic community. And by the way, we're no longer, not that I ever did, but Latinx is no longer okay to use because the Latino community came out and said, stop using that. We don't like it. The white liberals always are trying to stick their nose in their guilt. They're always trying to fix things and tell the blacks and Latinos what they need and what they should do. And I'm glad that the Latino community stood up and say, knock it off with that Latinx stuff. What the heck does that even mean? Right? Remember that the Latinx, we got the memo a couple of weeks ago. Stop using that. Good. Stop using that. So some of the headlines, I mean, the stuff that's coming out, right? Harris team looks to change course to reset her political prospects. The New York Times, heir apparent or afterthought, the frustrations of a Kamala Harris. From the New York Times again, the same one. The Post, Harris team looks to change the course to reset her political prospects. She has the blunder with this in this another interview, right, on MSNBC. Yeah. What was that thing about? What are you going to do? Well, what we're going to do is what we've been doing every day, and it's time to do what we do every day.
Just one more deer in the headlights.
Yeah, and I'm like, she sounds like that, like your kid when they didn't do their homework or didn't read the book or do, you know what I'm saying? They're bluffing their way through. Or when you go to a sales presentation and the person didn't really do the present, like they're flubbering through it. They're flubbering through it. Then you've got the hits that the administration is taking, right? Supreme Court blocks Biden's virus mandate for the large employers. They keep it going with the federal money people, but that's kind of falls it. Then, of course, Manchin and Sinema, right? They put another nail in there because the Sinema rejects changing the filibuster, right? Just setting back Biden's whole thing, whole hopes of getting this done. And then Stacey Abrams to skip Biden's voting rights speech in Georgia. She did that. This has been a tough week. From the Daily Mail, Kamala Harris is considering more TV interviews with her new team of aides, right? Hoping it will help resuscitate Democrats' faith in her after a series of low polls and blunders.
But Joe, I'm guessing who her new aides are. probably the kids that she had in that phony ad a couple months ago.
She hired them back to come on
Yeah.
onto the. Oh my
The kids that
God!
are professional actors.
You know, and the other thing, Biden administration planning list in look at this. This is going to be concerning. I'll talk with Dr. Fedor about this more in an hour or two, but the Biden administration is planning on list of employees seeking religious vaccination exemptions. This is from the Washington Times. At least 7 other federal agencies are apparently setting up similar personal religious information databases, according to an analyst at the Heritage Foundation. And it says Biden administration planning list of employees seeking religious vaccinations and exemptions. So what they're going to do is, if you seek your exemption based on religious reasons, you're going to get put into a database. And look, when you're in a database, you're in a database forever. It never goes away. And you know, what government started doing databases and collecting lists of everybody that disagreed with them? Can we say Germany, 1930s?
Yeah, I know there's 2 parts to this story. That is extremely ugly. You know, your first reaction is, well, this is, I guess, is an easy way to prune the, bloated federal government. But on the flip side is what's going to be left of who is employed is nothing but wacko leftists.
Oh, on the okay. As far as the mandate stuff goes, yes, because all you're going to have is just the only people who are going to be federally employed will be the sheep.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Got it. No, that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Look, another thing before we break for the hour, did you see this? Microsoft has been changing their words. So now if you use Microsoft, every time you type a word, it's going to change it and pop up and suggest that you use the woke word. So like if you're typing a letter and you say postman, it's going to say, don't you mean mail carrier? And if you go mankind, it's going to become humankind. And if you say, if you're writing and she goes and she's the heroine of the story, it'll say you mean the hero.
Yeah.
And there'll actually be a drop down, grammar and refinements, right? So you go in there and you have options, right? That you can have age biases and culture biases, ethnic, gender specific language, racial, sexual orientation bias. So you can set your Microsoft Word to its woke settings that it will automatically change this. I think, and people use,
Joe,
don't you use Google Doc anyway? I mean, who use Words?
Think about it though, Joe. There's a simple solution. Some company's going to come along and have an add-on to a Microsoft product to just wipe that stuff out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want the woke version.
Or just start using Google Docs.
Yeah, use something else.
Yeah.
Well, no, you don't want Google either. Google's bad too.
Google's bad too, but
DuckDuckGo.
I mean that's the problem. Is all of this technology is run by whack job left people, right? That
Not entirely.
No,
We're
that's
making
true.
headway there.
Well, yeah, but on some of the social media platforms, that is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're making headway. You kidding me? Trump's going to make a ton of money with his new social media starting on the 21st of February.
Good. Maybe he can make up some of the $1 billion he lost from becoming president.
Absolutely.
Because everything got boycotted. You know, that's the thing that always cracks me up with them. They go after the kids and everything. And I'm sorry, you cannot compare Hunter Biden, a crack junkie, to the Trump children, who are all well-educated, spoken, well-behaved international business people who were doing it for decades before Dad went into politics. You know what I'm saying? So they've had these international relationships, and they're based on good business. They're not based on who their daddy was in the sense that I can get you government favors and we can get you most favored, status. We can get you tons of American tax dollars. No, this is the corruption in the Biden regime is just largely untouched by both the media looking into it and certainly the DOJ or any of the other law enforcement agencies who won't touch it. And one of the things that illustrates that is a story about when they raided Giuliani's place, right? And they went in there and they're taking all these computers, and Giuliani says, "Don't you want those towers over there, right? Don't you want these?" Okay, yeah. What are they? They're Hunter Biden's laptop. Nope. We don't want them. Don't want them. We're not touching those. What does that tell you, man? Hey,
Everything
how's
you
the
need to
time?
know.
30 seconds. All right, we got 30 seconds. Ken, I'm going to have to hold you there. We're going to take a break at the top of the hour. Come back in hour 2 with Dr. Larry Fedor will join us, and we'll fix all the ills of the world at that time, folks. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Don't forget our text line at 617-297-8388. Joe Mangiacotti from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studio. Stick with us, folks.
WACE Chicopee and WCRN Worcester.
7 o'clock. Hey, folks, Joe Mangiacotti from the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Reminding you, talk radio is the immune system to the partisan bias, political rhetoric attacking us on a daily basis. Get inoculated. The Joe Mangiacotti Show is your vaccine. Join me weekend mornings, 6 to 8. A wedding is a beautiful ceremony that honors the joining of two human hearts, and it is the most important day of your life. And if you'd like your wedding to be as memorable experience and a genuine reflection of who you are, and one that your family and your guests will carry with them for the rest of their lives, I'd offer you to consider a Justice of the Peace. Justice Missy Margolis has been performing her duties for over 20 years for the sheer joy and pleasure of bringing other people happiness. Missy officiated my wedding ceremony. She will work with you to create the perfect wedding ceremony that reflects your traditions, beliefs, and culture while showing the world the beauty of who you are. I've personally known Missy for nearly 40 years, and whether you have a complex or a traditional wedding, a quick modern wedding, or a ceremony, Justice Missy Margolis will make it beautiful. Missy can also do vow renewals, remembrances, and ceremonies that include your children. She can perform a small, intimate ceremony to a large wedding any day of the week. Missy is truly a justice for all. And you can call Missy directly at 508-735-8999 or by email at justicemissy4you@gmail.com. Justice Missy, number 4, letter U @gmail.com. And of course, you can click a justiceforall.com. Again, justiceforall.com. Hi, I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you probably recognize me from the radio, or at least my voice, maybe from this station you're listening to now. And if you don't know, over my 30-plus years on the air, I've been best known for the real estate, mortgage, and financial talk that I've done. And what you may not know is that I haven't just talked the talk, but I've walked the walk. You see, I've been a licensed real estate salesperson here in the Commonwealth since 1984. And my very first venture into talk radio in 1986 was actually a real estate talk show. So I just wanted to remind you, or maybe inform you, that if you're considering selling or purchasing a property or looking to invest in income-producing property, consider having a conversation. You won't just be tapping the 3+ decades of my experience with marketing, purchasing, investing, and even being a landlord, but that of the countless experts and professionals that I've had the privilege of interviewing, working with, and learning from. Think of the vast network and contacts you'd have access to. So before making a move, make a call. You can click joerealtors.com, find me on Facebook at Joe Realtors, or email me at cameoproperty@gmail.com, or just call direct to my cell, 508-969-1088. That's 508-969-1088. And listen to Heidi Zizza and myself on Handling Change.
If you were to ask any retiree in a word, they would tell you that retirement is all about income. Income in retirement is a permission slip to enjoy life. Income provides the freedom to spend money each month, knowing that more will arrive next month and the month after that. As important as it is to accumulate assets for your retirement, it's equally, if not more important, to maximize the income being generated from your assets. My name is Jerry Doherty, and my radio program, Making Money Last, has been heard right here on WCRN. Well, do you know if your retirement income is as high as it could be? Are you living off less than you should be? Well, I'd like to offer you a complimentary review to answer that very question. Simply call my office at 877-772-1776. I'm conveniently located right on Route 9 in Westboro. Again, my number is 877-772-1776. Let's increase your income today.
Hey folks, Joe Mangiacotti here, and I have recently purged and refreshed with new furniture and, most importantly, a new bed. We spend about a third of our life on our mattresses, and it's so vital we have the right one, and we don't break the bank to do that. I first bought a mattress from the big store the brothers used to own, and a power base that moved the head and feet, and then I met John, and I checked out his showroom at 50 Main Street in Ashland and online at boxdropmiddlesex.com, and ended up with a better mattress, a power base that also heats and massages, all for less than half of what I was going to spend at the other place. Box Drop is a discount mattress store, and John specializes in clearance and closeouts, and he buys directly from the manufacturer with a low overhead and just family employees passing the savings on to you, and you can see it reflected in the price every day. Click boxdropinmiddlesex.com or call John on his cell. This is his cell number, 508-579-9303. That's 508-579-9303. And you can find John on Facebook at Box Drop Middlesex. John loves referrals, and this is the best referral I've given so far this year. Dropboxmiddlesex.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second hour of the Saturday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. Our text line is up and running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, or email text Joe on the radio at gmail.com. It appears on the same screen in real time. Don't forget, we're live streaming on the TuneIn app as well as streaming on Facebook and Twitter and my LinkedIn page and YouTube channel and even Twitch TV. All of it there. As promised, Dr. Larry Fedor joined us, so let me invite into the conversation. Dr. Larry, good morning, sir. You look marvelous.
Well, I feel marvelous.
Good. Good. It's great to start off the year 2022 feeling marvelous, healthy, wealthy, and wise. And the horses are good?
Yes.
Nice.
We're getting more and more action on that front. So it's all good.
All right. You still got the interns or whatever you call them, right? The ranch hands to come down and study, right? Isn't that a program for them?
Yeah, we have it's a sort of a staff internship, and very interesting. We're finding I'm meeting the new generation on their own terms.
Nice. We have to do that, right? I mean, look, I was at a board meeting Thursday afternoon. I'm at this board meeting, and one of the things we were talking about is, the clients that are dealing, they're in their 50s and 60s, right? They still use fax machines, and they're typing out checks and stuff on old typewriters. And, if they're under 45, say under 35 even, right? Everything is digitally, and that we need to start looking at changing, how things are done, because this particular board I'm dealing with, we deal with a lot of lawyers, and younger lawyers, everything is text and emails, and it's quickly done. It's all the technology that's happening, and you got to kind of, us older people have to get with it a little bit.
Boy, that can be disconcerting. You say, well, if you look up this idea or this person or this program or something, you'll find this, and then they tap up their on their little handheld thing, and while you're asking the question, they're looking up the answer, and by the time you get the question completed, they've actually got the whole thing right there on their on their little handheld, and you're standing there saying, geez, I hope I made the right.
Dr. Larry, all you have to do is listen to our vice president, and when you need to know where that restaurant is, you do Google. Just do Google, right?
Well,
that's what the president said. Just Google. Where do I find the nearest Google? He lost his train of thought, but the point is, Google it, man. Just Google it, and you'll be fine. So, all right, folks, 508-871-7000. If you want to join the conversation, on the phone with me is Dr. Larry Fedor. Dr. Larry can be heard doing the Wednesday nights, doing your own podcast called the something hour, the Resistance Hour. The Resistance Hour. All right. And of course, you're still can be found at drlarryonline.com. So if you want to go check them out there, that's fine. So look, Joe Biden's had a real tough week here, right? And I want to first, let's talk about the tough week that the president had and what it means, how this plays into it. And then we'll get into some of the international issues that we have looming over us here, Dr. Larry. But one of the things that I mean, the multiple things that happen, but one of the things that he's dealing with, of course, is you've got Joe Manchin and Senator Sinema kind of putting the final nail in the coffin on this filibuster issue. Because he lost the Build Back Better, right? They stopped that. They killed the bill and saved America on that front. And that's just not, folks, that is not a catchy it is a catchy slogan, but it's so important because what was in that bill was horrible. And the left always has this thing, Dr. Larry, right? These huge Green New Deal, socialist, progressive, hire a bunch of IRS agents and be able to go into your bank account, and every transaction from $600 on is going to be looked at and reported immediately. And you have absolutely no privacy at all, and they can do this without any probable cause and warrants to look into your bank accounts. All this is going to happen, but they don't want you to know any of this. They throw on a cool name that they think people are going to want and literally use the words, as Nancy Pelosi does and others, you have to pass the bill to find out what's in it. Our founding fathers are rolling in their graves saying, no, you don't. We established this whole big thing called debate. And it has to be debated in the House and the Senate. It has to, no, that's not how it's supposed to work. And we're saved. So when I say kill the bill and save the country, that's not hyperbole. We're saving the country by killing that bill. And what did he do? He pivoted immediately to the most important thing. And what was that? Voter rights bill has to be passed now. What should we be more scared of? Build Back Better or voter right? This new voter right legislation they want to push through.
Save democracy by destroying it.
Perfect, right? You got to save it. You got to hurt it, I guess. It's just crazy. This voter right bill is in complete contradiction to the founding fathers in the way it is. It's very clear, right, that the voting, how you vote, when you vote, style you vote is to be determined by the state legislatures, the states who created the federal government, by the way, not the other way around.
Exactly. But of course, they don't care about the Constitution. They consider that a antiquated, dated perception of a bunch of starry-eyed, slave-owning idealists.
You have you recently wrote an article about the mystery, right, of Biden and who's the puppet master. What's the gist of that publication that you put up? Share with our listeners.
I am convinced by the evidence against Drew Biden that he in fact has collected millions and millions of dollars under the guise of his father's vice presidency, and there is one of the the first sources of that is the computer disk that they discovered here about 2 years ago, and the FBI has kept quiet silent about and won't release it. But nevertheless, I think that the evidence against Drew Biden is actually very convincing.
You mean Hunter?
Yeah, Hunter. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And that being the case, if you start looking into the accusations against him and the evidence, you come to the conclusion very quickly that his father was actually behind the whole thing, and that means that there's a whole file of probably documents and film and all sorts of evidence that's in a vault someplace in the Chinese Communist Party archives, and that means that they have the potential destroying the current American president's viability as a public servant. And in other words, they can blackmail him anytime they want. And I'm convinced that if you look at the entire sweep of the actions against the American Commonwealth, and it's all the way from taking over our children's education and leisure to the reduction of our military capability to our and all of the things in between. And how could one single group, no matter how intelligent they are, of small staff in the White House, be able to conduct such a wide and huge type of assault against the American creed and code? I don't think that could be done by a few people in the White House. I think it would take a massive research and technological capability, and that's such as you would assume is the capability of the Chi-Com. And therefore, they are in fact active all the way from the support of higher educational systems to the entire scope of American life, and that they are in fact somehow indirectly. Well, then the next step is look at the sweep, the enormous sweep of negative actions on the part of the executive that have occurred in this past year, and I don't have to go through that whole list. I just think that it takes more than a few people in the White House to be able to accomplish such a tremendous devastation and assault against America.
Well, we've kind of
therefore it comes from China.
We've talked about this, Dr. Larry, right? That this whole it doesn't feel. No, first of all, I don't think that anybody is looking at Joe Biden and saying this guy is so on top of everything, right? His faculties are firing on all cylinders, and this is all happening. So we've always said there is this feeling that there are the invisible hands that are controlling the Oval Office. Things are happening there, and we don't think it's coming from Joe Biden. You can feel that, you know that. And the question has always been, well, if not Joe, then who? And by default, you go, well, Barack Obama, because I'm pretty sure Barack Obama is the reason Kamala Harris, he was always soft on her, right? He always was. This is a woman who had, 3% polling in her own state as attorney general. She couldn't raise the money. She couldn't get the momentum. She dropped out before she was ever even a factor. Then all of a sudden she ends up as the VP. And if you base it on Joe, it's because she checks all two boxes that all matter to him, a female and of color. That's it. But she's also the woman that during the presidential debates early on called him a racist and a rapist. Now, would you pick her if she talked to you that way and a thing? So obviously she's not his pick. So I think it's Barack Obama's. But what you're saying is the things that this administration is doing with no care whatsoever to the American people, i.e. polls, right? The trend of what's going on, how people feel, it doesn't matter. It's as if he's being told what to do. He's got an agenda that he's following, and it's not coming from inside the house. It's from outside the house.
And I don't know exactly what the mechanism is that the Chi-Coms are using. And I'm sure that's very well hidden. But nevertheless, I think that's basically where it's coming from. It might be even through Barack Obama, but I'm not saying that. I don't know that.
Well, there's one there's a Chinese man, I don't have his name on the top of my head here. He's a lecturer, and he's part of the the upper Chinese government, where he lectures about America and spying and so forth. And he said straight out, every American is flippable, either through money or honeypot. We look at Swalwell sleeping with secret police Chinese fanfan, right? You have was it Waters who had the spy chauffeur for 20 plus years, driving her around. So there's no question that we have spies, not only Chinese spies throughout the government, but now we just had this Jamoke over here at MIT arrested, right? Because they have all of these professors, right? The Chi-Com has gotten in to American universities with what? Money. The guy arrested here in Boston received $1.5 million to set up a lab in Wuhan, and then he got what, $50,000 a month, and he wasn't even reporting that. So he lied on all the forms. He didn't report the money. And the article I read on it, we the government wanted to go after him for espionage, but they didn't think they could make that stick, so they got him on like 6 lesser charges, but serious charges nonetheless. So they've infiltrated our education systems, our research centers. They've got politicians that they're monitoring, and we know that they have leverage. And I get this pushback, Doctor. People say, "Oh, you conspiracy theorists." You don't think that Joe Biden's computers, by the way, and this is the other thing, folks. We're not talking about one. This guy has lost multiple computers. And they're out there and they've been downloaded. And if you don't think that what's on those computers are saved, like you said, not just in China's secret police or their intelligence agencies, but you don't think other intelligence agencies, North Korea, Germany, Russia, you don't think that they have some of this compromising stuff? So do we have a president that is compromised? And if we do, and I think we do, what do we do about it, man?
Well, first of all, we have to get a power base in the federal government, and that would be in Congress. And then we do the same thing to Biden that they did. We did with Trump, and you start off on an impeachment investigation.
So when the Republicans hopefully take control of the House in 2022, or in 2023 technically, then they'll be able to place Republican congressmen and senators, hopefully Senate too, in charge of these committees. Now, we saw something happen in this last year or so, Dr. Larry, that we've never seen before, and that's the Democrats dictate to the Republicans who will be on the committees. Now, you're the minority party, that's fine, but you still have members on the Judicial Committee, right, or these oversight committees. And it is the leadership of the Republican or the minority party that decides who sits on the committees. But for the first time ever, the majority party, i.e. Democrats in this case, have dictated to the Republicans who's allowed to sit on the committee. How did that happen? Where did this come from? But the point is, once they're in charge, then you're going to see the same committees that have been refusing to look at things or giving us a sleight of hand in doing what they're doing with the January 6th while ignoring so many other things they should be paying attention to. Now we can take a look at this, right? And when you have people like Jim Jordan, who's asked, hey, when the Republicans have the House, do you want to be Speaker? And I love his answer because he's like, let McCarthy have that. I want to be the chairman of the Judicial Committee because that's the committee that has the power for investigation and the tools, right? They can do the subpoenas and they can force testimony and force you to sit and then look into this. They can look into everything from the origin of the Chinese virus or the Wuhan virus to the Hunter Biden laptops to the money, the massive amounts of money that have been put into the Biden family, right? Usually through Hunter, but now we know from the emails and the documentations and whatever happened to Tony Babaluski. This guy was a treasure trove of information on the corruption in the Biden family, right? He put his family in hiding and protection before he came out to speak about it. And he said he met with Joe Biden. And Joe Biden said to him, plausible deniability, when he said, how do you get away from this if you ever run for office? 10% held for the big guy. He testified that that is the big guy. And we got a bank account that both Hayden and Joe are on, so they've commingled the funds. And then don't even get started, right? We haven't even talked about the massive money laundering and influence peddling under the guise of art.
Yep.
Has there ever been a corrupt presidency as corrupt as the Biden presidency?
Well, there in the late 19th century, there's some real contenders, but certainly not in modern times.
I mean, it's crazy. The art, as far as the art thing, and just put a pin in it. I just want to say this, and we can put a pin in it and put it aside. First of all, art has always been the haven for money laundering because it's so subjective and nobody can really say it's worth it or whatnot. And then the White House comes out to tell us nobody's going to know who the buyers are, and they think that's a good thing. And that's the part that makes me laugh is you mourn. That is not a good thing. This is the one time that transparency should be so important. Anybody who even considers buying a piece of artwork done by Hunter Biden, who they are, where their money is, and how much they're paying should all be up front, because you're saying not only are we going to run this purchase, money for influence, but we're going to make it secret on who buys it. That helps them, right? That absolutely helps them. That's so ridiculous. No, this is when we want to know who's buying it. What foreign entities are buying it and why, and what's the connection? What are they going to get out of it? First of all, it's such a poor timing. If Joe Biden had an ounce of integrity in his body, and obviously he hasn't, he would say, son, hold off. Hold off. Don't do that right now. Don't do that right now. Or he'd say, I want it transparent. Right? Whatever gallery wants to take it, they can have absolutely nothing to do with the United States government in any way, shape, or form other than paying their taxes. And everybody who attends the show or buys anything from you is published. And that's part of it. I'm sorry, you want to buy a Hunter Biden, you understand your name's in the Wall Street Journal or it's on a website. You can't shovel hundreds of thousands of dollars into the Biden family, crime family, and not be known who you are.
Well, I can tell you there's another aspect of this that is really, really scaring me, and I think we're about to see it, and that is that we are. I'm very concerned that that two things are going to happen in the next 30 to 60 days, and that is, first of all, that the Russians are going to invade the Ukraine again, and secondly, that the Chicoms are going to try to take over Taiwan. And I think that the payoff of the entire Chicom invasion of American society is going to be that the Biden administration will determine that they're not going to do anything to stop it, and that the Chicoms will, in fact, have taken over Taiwan. And once they do that, and the Americans fail to show up for the defense of our two of our allies, in addition to
Afghanistan.
performance of
Yeah.
Afghanistan,
We're done.
we're done as the primary country in the world, and that means that China is triumphant. That their 50-year plan will in fact have been accelerated by approximately 25 years.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
what I'm worried about.
And this is why we have so wrong. We have such the wrong person sitting in the Oval Office right now, because half of what's going on, more than half of what's going on right now, would not be happening if Donald Trump was still president. Fuel would still be at what it was. The border wall would be completed. Other nations would be afraid to tackle the United States because they don't have anything on Trump that could they can control him with, like they can do here. And Trump would not. First of all, Afghanistan would not have been the failure it was, and Taiwan would continue to be our ally that we've been selling defensive technology and equipment to for just decades now. Hey, Dr. Larry, going to take a quick break. Hold on to it. Who's going to go to an Out with Joe here from the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Boxtrap Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. Back on the other side with Dr. Larry Fedawar.
We're going to lunch.
We're going to lunch? This is Out with Joe. With Joe Mangiacotti.
Actually, honey, we're going to lunch.
Restaurants, food and drink, entertainment.
I've got a little something going every day. Maybe nothing big, but a little daily recreation don't hurt anybody.
Got a review? You're the critic.
Some bacon on a biscuit and let's go.
Now it's time to go Out with Joe.
Welcome to this edition of Out with Joe, brought to you by Levante's Auto School with 5 locations. Click Levante's Auto School to find one near you. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. This week, we take a look at the soaring food prices that are putting pressure on restaurants and grocery store shoppers alike. But the cost of eating at home is climbing faster than bills for dining away from home, which could help restaurants regain the share of stomach that they lost during the pandemic as the restaurant industry tries to bounce back from the crisis. Eateries are competing not just against each other, but also against grocery stores in meal kit services for consumers' money. In 2020, 51.9% of consumer spending on food was for at-home occasions, marking the first time since 2008 that consumers opted to allocate less than half of their food budget to away-from-home eating. Restaurants have seen their businesses rebound since then, but the industry still hasn't fully recovered. The latest surge of new COVID-19 cases stemming from the Omicron variant could present another obstacle for eateries. Black box intelligence data shows that restaurant sales growth in the week ended on January 2nd was down compared with the first half of December, suggesting that some cautious consumers may be avoiding eating at restaurants. However, Bank of America securities analyst Sarah Saratora wrote recently that a gap between inflation of food at home and food away from home strengthens the value proposition of restaurants, making eating out more appealing to consumers. That could give restaurants a lift during the first half of 2022, although she expects those tailwinds to peter out in the second half of the year. According to the Department of Labor report, food at home prices climbed a whopping 6.5% over the last 12 months. Meats, poultry, fish, and eggs saw the highest price increases. The cost of eating away from home rose 6% over the last year, the highest jump since January of 1982. Like grocery store shoppers, restaurants are also battling higher food costs, but they have more levers to pull to keep prices low for diners. For example, Domino Pizza CEO Rich Allison said that the pizza chain is predicting its food basket cost will soar 8% to 10% in 2022, 3 to 4 times the pace for a typical year. The company plans to tailor its promotion to avoid sticker shock for consumers and maintain profit margins. Most restaurant chains haven't been able to avoid raising menu prices. Checkers and Rally's CEO Francis Allen said in an interview that the drive-through chain raised prices by 6% this summer and hiked them an additional 6% at the start of the new year. For more on this posting and for this complete article, click outwithjoe.com. We have suspended the Music Minute for the time being. Please support your local musicians. We do. Follow us on our social media platforms at Out with Joe. Out with Joe has been brought to you by Levante's Auto School with 5 locations, one near you. Hi, I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you probably recognize me from the radio, or at least my voice, maybe from this station you're listening to now. And if you don't know, over my 30-plus years on the air, I've been best known for the real estate, mortgage, and financial talk that I've done. And what you may not know is that I haven't just talked the talk, but I've walked the walk. You see, I've been a licensed real estate salesperson here in the Commonwealth since 1984. And my very first venture into talk radio in 1986 was actually a real estate talk show. So I just wanted to remind advise you or maybe inform you that if you're considering selling or purchasing a property or looking to invest in income producing property, consider having a conversation. You won't just be tapping the 3+ decades of my experience with marketing, purchasing, investing, and even being a landlord, but that of the countless experts and professionals that I've had the privilege of interviewing, working with, and learning from. Think of the vast network and contacts you'd have access to. So before making a move, make a call. You can click joerealtors.com, find me on Facebook at Joe Realtors, or email me at cameoproperty@gmail.com, or just call direct to my cell, 508-969-1088. That's 508-969-1088. And listen to Heidi Zizza and myself on Handling Change.
We know why you're awake. Your child is about to get their driver's license. Levante's Auto School offers 1-week driving programs to help make sure your child stays safe and focused behind the wheel.
877 Drive Ed. Who's Ed?
That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Learn to drive safely and efficiently. Visit one of our 5 locations throughout Massachusetts. Click Levante'sAutoschool.com.
Levante's Auto School shows you how to learn the rules and keep your cool. Oh, 877 Drive Ed.
Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment of the Saturday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Box Drop Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti as we broadcast from our palatial but not overly ostentatious studios high atop the Carberry Towers in Westborough, Massachusetts. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. You can also text and join us in real time at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, or email text Joe on the radio at gmail.com. Online with me is Dr. Larry Fedewa, and we're talking really about the global position. And I said the same thing this morning, Doctor, when we started out that, I think before the end of February, we will see action by Putin crossing over, and that immediately after the Olympics, if that doesn't blow up between now and then, they will take Taiwan and reunification, which has been the mantra of mainland China forever. It's never changed. They've always maintained that it was part of China, and Taiwanese people don't. And as you know, and it's been shared on I married a Taiwanese national, and do not make the mistake of referring to them as Chinese. They do not like that at all. And even though I point out on the passport, it says, "Oh, right here, Taiwan, Republic of China." Yeah, you're going to sleep on the couch. It's not a good thing to do. They don't consider themselves China. They don't consider themselves Chinese. Yet, Dr. Larry, we have been providing them with defensive technology and equipment for many, many years, and we have a treaty with
and
Taiwan.
vice versa. They're also a major manufacturer in the
chips,
in the high tech business.
Yeah. Look, if we were to lose access to Taiwan in our relationship with Taiwan, we're in a tough situation, right? It's not good. All right, folks. Dr. Larry Fedewa online with us. He joins us once a month to kind of put things in perspective. You can, of course, read him online at Dr. Larry online as well, and listen to him on Wednesday nights in the Resistance Hour. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Mark in Worcester would like to join the conversation. Hey, Mark. Morning again. You're on with Dr. Larry.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. I want to make a brief statement, both to you and the good doctor. It seems to me, I like to put things in simplistic terms. It seems to me that the main deterrent to a person engaging in criminal activity is the fear of prosecution. That being said, when the fear of prosecution is eliminated, consequently, you're going to experience an increase in criminal activity. And that goes from the bottom all the way up to the top, or from the top all the way down to the bottom, depending on how you look at it. And that's what they're experiencing in this country today. That's the crux of the problem. Two-tiered justice system, no fear of prosecution in many cases. Consequently, you have an increase in criminal activity. What say you guys?
Well, Dr. Larry, what's your take on? I want to focus in on one thing that Mark says, and that is the two-tier justice system. And if this isn't evident to you, you're not paying attention. We see, depending on who your friends are, what party you belong to, what your name is, how you are treated, whether you're prosecuted. We watch the FBI handle certain parts of investigations with kid gloves, who actually wrote reports before the interviews were done, who changed the verbiage in reports to lessen what it was, who altered reports. We had one FBI person plead guilty to altering FBI reports. We saw the texts of FBI agents talking about insurance policies and a zillion to one and smelling Walmart shoppers, et cetera, et cetera. So if you don't see that we have a very serious problem in this country with a two-tier justice system, you're not paying attention. Your take on that one, Dr. Larry?
Well, I think it's not only true of for normal, ordinary people, but it's also true of our chief executive officer. I think that we're if what we're talking about before is true, then he is in fact assuming that he's going to be able to maneuver the Chinese position, the world position, into supremacy over America without any ill effects for himself, because he's the president of the United States. And so it carries all the way from the very top down to the right to the street, as our listener was suggesting.
Well, you know, we see how people live in China, right? This incredible surveillance state. They have generations ahead of us in IA and surveillance IA. Everything you do is documented. Everything is monitored. We also see, was it Quebec? Quebec just came out, about the coverage. You're paying more on health and coverage. In some places, you can't even go out of your house. And we know back in the beginning of the pandemic, right? These people who were positive with COVID in China, they were welded into their homes and never unwelded, by the way. Right? They've got the Uyghurs that they're, these concentration camps. And yeah, in this case, I'm comfortable using that term, because unlike AOC calling the pens that Obama administration built down on the border as concentration camps, what's happening to the Uyghurs, it's horrible. It's modern day torture. This is the nation that's going to lead the planet. This is going to be the nation that we're supposed to eventually come under and live like. Will that happen? Are you going to be able to get all of the red-blooded, gun-carrying, Second Amendment citizens of the United States to succumb to the Chinese way of government?
Well, we're going to have we could easily have another civilian civil war. I mean, I think if this happens, we're in for a very, very difficult time.
But we have this government, we have a current administration that is because they're compromised, but they're also the ones pushing this whole mandates and lockdowns and surveillance and showing papers to eat or to go out of your house. It's crazy. If you said to an American a few years ago that you're going to live like this, they would say you're talking about a novel. That's not going to happen. That's a Tom Clancy novel. That's not happening here.
Or you're talking about Nazi Germany or Soviet Russia
or North Korea. Right? That's not America. That doesn't happen here. But we have this generation or two generations now who have totally seem not to have gotten those civic lessons on the Revolutionary War and the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and our amendments, and they just they're getting the information through social media headlines and tweets, and they're taking statesman type advice from rappers and who's that Minaj there, whatever her name is. I mean, it's crazy, and they think this is legitimate stuff that they're listening to, and they have no clue. You know, I said it a little while ago. I got floored when I was at a Best Buy talking with a couple 20-year-olds who had no idea who Benedict Arnold was, or Thomas Paine, or they had no idea of any of these people I was talking about were key members or key players in the Revolutionary War. And you have to say, what the heck are they teaching you in school then if you don't know who these people are?
Well, they're teaching you that we've got racial divides, and
that's right.
The white people are on the wrong side of that.
You're white, you're an oppressor. If you're of color, you're a victim. Act accordingly.
Yep. But that's so irrelevant to what they really want. I mean, the only relevance is that weaken the American will to resist people that are going to come in and change our lives dramatically, and that's what could happen if the Chinese take over the mantle of being the most powerful country in the world, which of course is their goal. It's
I got to tell you, can we make it to 2024 elections without this country being in a serious war? And I know, right? Leading into the 2016 election.
Only if we win it. Only if we win this year.
Yeah, we've got to win the midterms, and hopefully that will stop some craziness. But the problem there is, even if the Republicans control the House and the Senate, you still got this puppet in the White House, and you don't know what he's going to do. He's in control of the most powerful military on the planet, and if he doesn't use it or use it correctly, I know, right? Right, there's a question right now. Now China has supersonic missiles, 7,000 miles a minute or something, that can travel the globe in no time flat and go absolutely anywhere on a dime. Yeah, things are scary because that power is supposed to be lying in the United States, folks. Yeah,
and our people are studying woke.
Yeah, and we got a military
instead of trying to keep up the technology war against China and Russia.
And we got a military who's woke as well, right? They're being hit with these pronouns and all this other. No, I want our military to be a very organized, disciplined killing machine. Yep. Sorry, that's what I want the military to be, folks. This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Boxstrap Middlesex Mattress Outlet Studios. Our guest online with us is Dr. Larry Fedowa. You can check him out online at Dr. Larry, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go to Joanne in North Brookfield. Joanne, good morning. You're on with myself and Dr. Larry. You look marvelous.
Oh, good morning, Dr. Larry and Joe. Yes, I've been listening to your discussion, and it is so frightening, the situation that we find ourselves in. And the first thing, if we do get back the House, to impeach this guy, but then the thing that you just touched on is he's got control of the military, and I don't know how, but the Democrats put all these Democrat, socialist, woke generals in there. We have to immediately get rid of those people, because otherwise I suppose he could do something crazy. I mean, I've been reading things, and people are actually worried that he's going to get us into a nuclear war with Iran or Russia or whoever. And as far as being in a real communist Nazi type government, you have to look no further than the poor patriots that have been rotting in jail with no bail for doing nothing but except going into, I mean, this a total setup. And I don't understand why some constitutional lawyers on
Yeah.
helping these people.
I'm with you on that, Joanne. Where is the outcry? Where are the lawyers? Where is the habeas corpus? Right?
Yes.
Where are the motions? Right? Because we're being told that the deplorable conditions, and they're being beaten, and they're being held in solitary confinement, and they really don't have the charges. And now just the first hint of insurrection charges being dropped, but they were going after people who were just there. They had no intention of getting involved. They didn't get involved. They didn't breach anything. They didn't break anything. It's Jim and Mary Smith took the camper from Iowa and just went down for the rally. And all of a sudden, because the GPS in their phone, they're getting interviewed and harassed by the DOJ and the FBI. What the heck is going on? And then we've got this Ray Epps, right? Who's all over the place, who's seen whispering in people's ears and yelling that you got to get in there. Well, you got other guys who did get arrested yelling at the top of their lungs, this has got to be peaceful. Keep it peaceful. You can literally see the video of them saying that. That guy's arrested, but Ray Epps, who is this huge instigator and was on the FBI's top wanted list and identify him for 6 months. On July 1st, he was quietly removed from the FBI website, and they admit that they know who he is, but why isn't he charged? Who is he?
They let him go. They let him go. And now you have that Merrick Garland and this corrupt Nazi DOJ indicting the Oath Keepers. These people are just innocent patriots too. They've indicted them on sedition, which is really bad. I mean, I don't know. I mean, when you sentence the poor guy that had mental problems, but harmless, completely harmless with the horns, and he was, who I'm talking about.
Yeah, with the Viking hat and everything. And what about Merrick Garland too? And Dr. Larry, where are you in this? Because now we find out that there's actually the letter going back to the school boards and so forth, asking for this letter to come forth so that they can then turn around and treat parents as domestic terrorists using the tagging system, and then set up a whole new division within the DOJ on domestic terrorists. And the parents, any parent who questions the child's education and the curriculum being taught, is all of a sudden on the receiving end of a federal investigation into their lives.
And the problem is they're not being indicted, so therefore there's not going to trial, and they're sitting in limbo because there's no way out.
We're going back to the January 6th people, right?
Yeah.
All right. So where are these lawyers filing habeas corpuses on these, right? Right to speedy trial. You can't be held without being charged. What happened? Did we suspend the legal system in this country for this?
Yeah.
Well, they're very clever. They haven't revealed who is actually being held or where.
But how can that be done?
Soviet style.
Well, that's what I'm saying, folks.
Intimidation,
Mm-hmm.
And here we are in a situation that everybody's like, nobody's getting upset about it because it's not them yet. But don't you understand, folks, if it's done to any American citizen, look at what they did to Donald Trump. Talk about, he was a high-profile, powerful civilian. Then he was the president-elect, and they still spied on him. They still created false narratives and tried to set him up. And he was a president-elect, and then the president. And if they can do that to him, and they can do this to hundreds of people who just went to a protest, and yes, I'm not downplaying the stupidity of people who got out of hand, but this wasn't an insurrection. You don't go to an insurrection totally unarmed. I mean,
and the only reason they got out of hand was because you had the Antifa and they dressed up as Trump supporters, like that Ray Epps, voting, and they're the ones who broke in, and then the innocent patriots wandered in, and but my big thing is, where are the constitutional lawyers like Dershowitz and Turley that you see on TV? Why aren't they representing these people?
Good question. Put it out there. I know. Dershowitz has spoken up quite a bit and has offered to help some things, but I don't know. I mean, he's also up there, folks. I mean, it's one guy with this X amount of time. But there should be an outcry here. People should be saying and demanding what is going on. What are the conditions? Why are you holding someone? Right? We don't hold people without charging them for never mind weeks and months. We don't do it for we don't do it for 72 hours.
But yet we have done it to these people.
And we have.
Yes, and continue to do it. And now they've arrested these oath keepers and for sedition, which I guess is even worse. So probably, and you know what? And they're just innocent patriots too that went there. They're not. We are not. I mean, it's like calling me, you, insurrectionists. We are not.
Yeah.
And it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. Joanne, thank you very much for the call. Always a great call. But Dr. Larry, we do have this problem with the people who have been arrested, right? 738 or something like that. Then you get these reports that they're, held 23 hours in solitary confinement and out, walk around the yard for an hour. They're not getting visitors. They don't have phone calls. I mean, these people, they're not domestic terrorists, right? You look at this thing, and this is all in the backdrop of a year of absolute real riots, of burning courthouses and federal buildings, and burning those courthouses after locking, barricading in court offices and setting the building on fire, killing police officers, over 2,000 police officers injured, people killed. We got Officer Dorn executed, right? This, the mainstream media tells us, is mostly peaceful protests. Anybody that got arrested in those things, their charges were dropped or reduced to nothing. So we do have two-tier justice system. Walking into the Capitol with in most cases, it's on the video, Dr. Larry, right? Of the Capitol Police moving the barrier, holding the door open, come on in and look.
Right. Yeah.
On the backdrop of
which they should have done.
Right. On the backdrop of what we saw, the terrorist activity that we saw, terrorist-like activity of Molotov cocktails and setting things, right? BLM protests, they would show up, Antifa would show up, and somehow there's a U-Haul truck or a box truck already waiting with weapons, crowbars, cans of peas, frozen water bottles, bottles of urine and bleach, all waiting for them. We don't have the investigative ability to find out who rented the truck, who stopped the truck, who put the truck there. How does this happen? And there's no outcry. And a lot of it, I'm sorry, a lot of it has to do with the media just not doing their job. They're turning a blind eye to it, and they are the propaganda arm for these people, right? They are absolutely trying to sell us a lie. They have sold us this lie, and now they're turning around and on multiple fronts and saying things we've been saying for a year or two, right? Now you got mainstream media saying, hey, we can't lock down the schools. Masks don't work. I mean, they're finally saying things that if you said it, and when we said it a year ago, we got knocked off of Facebook or Google or what have you for saying what now the left is making acceptable to say.
Well, we're getting close to the end of the program, and I'd like to make one more statement.
Absolutely. The floor is yours, Dr. Larry.
That I think we are experiencing in sort of a piecemeal version what a socialist and ultimately totalitarian state would be like. And what I'm basing my optimism on is that we are that this is now being understood, the downside of it and the sacrifice and the change is being understood by masses of Americans, and they don't like it, and they're now getting very, very ready to vote it all out of office, and that we have our major chance of surviving all of this intact is to and being wiser is to win the Congress in 2022 and begin to retrench and change back to our American way. And the promising thing is that the polls are showing that the Americans don't like this by a difference of 33% approval versus 55% disapproval. And so I think we have hope.
We do have hope, and as long as they don't change the voting rules to allow them to pull the same stuff that they pulled in 2016, and therefore control elections, meaning that you aren't a candidate, you're anointed. Yes, because this is going to happen. And I say to the Democrats who want to put these new voting rules in, sure, put them in, but make them effective next year when the Republicans control it. How do you like that? They would not like that. Dr. Larry, thank you very much for joining us and getting up early on a Saturday morning. I know you get up early anyway on a horse farm and all, but I do appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. And don't forget, Dr. Larry online. I'm Joe Mangiacotti from the Box Shop Middlesex Mattress Studios. Back tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Same channel, same chair. See you there.